Welcome to the Heroes Global Championship EU edition. Today we have the top of the league versus the bottom. We'll see if we'll have any mix-up or not. My name is Trixler. Over here to the left, Caldor joining us per usual.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. We got some good matches per usual, ending week 7 with a bang. We're gonna have a lot of cool stuff to watch.
Yeah, we have a couple of really cool games today, and yesterday was also a very interesting day, not only for Europe, but in case you didn't catch the North America games, we had some very interesting developments there.
The newest heroes in Heroes of the Storm, Murabot showing up. It was actually kind of interesting to watch. There's a little discussion that was going on with the North America scene with Gale Force Esports and No Tomorrow. Let's look at the actual standings right now for the global standings to figure out where our teams currently stand. But Gale Force Esports showed a lot of sportsmanship, not really attacking the Muradin, but eventually they wound up losing, which is an odd discussion point for a lot of people to talk about.
Yeah, so just to loop you guys in a bit, yesterday's games were ending on very interesting notes because both of the best of 5 series went into the last map, and when we saw Gale Force play in the last game, there were so many problems on one of the player sides that eventually they had to play with a bot, and Gale Force deciding at first not to target the bot at all, going full fair play here, backfired a bit against them because it was in the very late game and they ended up losing that match.
Incredible series, but still, they were in Game 5, so what it comes down to it is No Tomorrow walked away with the victory, and you saw there the standings shake up because of it. Now, Europe on this side, we still have Team Liquid, who is playing today. They are currently undefeated still. They are at the very tip of the top there for the EU standings. And of course, on the bottom side, you have Synergy and beGenius. They are playing today as well. beGenius looking for the first win in the entire HGC, having a hard time so far. And Synergy, while they looked great the last couple of matches, have yet to net a win.
For me personally, today I really want to see what Team Liquid is going to do, because you have at this point to really question how strong they actually are. They played so far mainly their game against the Playing Ducks, and they had a very rough time there. They could have lost that match. And at that point we didn't really know, okay, what to expect from the Playing Ducks. They played against Dignitas, didn't win a map. They played against Team Liquid, looked like a different team. But it was always the question, is it them stepping it up, or was Team Liquid struggling? And now we saw Playing Ducks play against Fnatic. Again, they didn't win a map, and Fnatic dominated there. So right now we really have to ask ourselves, is Team Liquid still in that position that they were last season? Can they maintain that no-loss series that they have right now? And it feels like they are straining.
Yeah, a lot of questions surfacing when it comes to Team Liquid. In fact, let's go ahead and ask this question. What are we watching today? What is happening for Sunday? So much content coming your way. Synergy versus Team Liquid will be our second match of the day. Watching out for that. Superstars, Tempo Storm later on, and Team Freedom and Team Niventic going at it. Now, our first match of the day. We're kicking off Sunday with beGenius and Team Dignitas. Dignitas has been looking explosive since the Western Clash.
Yeah, Dignitas has been looking very strong in the games that we casted so far from them, so they really have that momentum going for themselves. And they also are, once again, just like throwing in their own drafts. They have their own approach to it. We saw great strategies using the globals, really just rotating between lanes. We've seen them with a very dominant mage play, of course, once again, since Main is jumping back on his cooldown whenever they can. It's really a pleasure to watch these guys play, and today they're going up against beGenius, so they are expected to take this easily. But of course the French team, as you said, they're still waiting for a victory, and they have nothing to lose anymore. Yeah,
beGenius needs to put it all on the table, and they are. They're just trying to get that win some way or somehow. We'll see what they think about today's matchup.
About the Crucible, yes, of course we speak about it. We had to do Crucible, or we need to beat Dignitas or Fnatic or very good teams. So yeah, we speak a lot about Crucible. We know one good team in Open League. We hope to beat them. We can beat them. I would say to the fan of beGenius, be strong like us. I'm always happy when I see people say that, oh, beGenius can do this, beGenius are strong, so thanks to them.
Well, against beGenius for this weekend, we are just preparing normally. We will try to find like 1 or 2 new things, like we use on against Expert. They are last at the HGC, right? But they can still win. We don't have to underestimate them. But we will maybe play something new, like, you know, I don't know, something with Zul'jin again or something crazy.
I love that shot of Snitch stretching out. I don't know if it's because I know his personality or what, but it just makes me giggle every single time. I love that guy so much. So beGenius versus Dignitas. This is going to be a match that is obviously very difficult for beGenius, but as I mentioned in that interview, they are so happy that they still have fans that are still cheering for them, saying, hey, you guys got this, you can do it. And they themselves believe they're just missing out on communication, it feels like, here and there.
I think this is definitely true. It's also some of the drafting that they had. We talked about this when they played the last time. Are just obvious gaps in the draft where they have some ideas that just don't work out for them. They go for a single tank in Nuburak and just go into Cocoon. They don't have the sustain at the front line, so all of a sudden it falls apart since the Nuburak is pressured back. The rest is open and the opponent just pressures in. So these are a couple of things that we mentioned the last time they were playing, and we really have to see if they were working on them and if they were able to just solidify that drafting a bit more so that they have a better chance going up against these strong teams.
Yeah, they have a small little things that are really hurting them. It's their battleground. Actually, let's talk about the battleground that we're going to. Their battleground drafting also is something that hurts a little bit. It seems like they don't play the battleground as much as others do in Europe. They love these stun type of styles, these lockdown styles. We will be going to Infernal Shrines, which is a battleground that beGenius does seem to do well on in the early game. Their mid game is where they start to fall apart.
Yeah, traditionally when we talk about beGenius, they love to play these bus driver comps that they also played in the qualifier, where they just get their stun lock in and they run over an opponent, they get the easy kill, and then they take it from there. That doesn't really work as well anymore now that the teams get used to playing against them, and as you said, it seems the one thing they are really focused on. They want to drive these team fights, so they need to, as you said, draft a bit more around the battleground as well, and also really prepare for their opponents here. It's of course rough now going up against a team as strong as Dignitas when you have to make these plays happen and these changes to implement them.
It's actually a good point. These beep beep comps that you will, the bus driver driving around, beep. The beep beep, you know, the jumping up, I'm gonna pick up the kids. These comps where you go in for these stuns, they really fall apart at level 7, especially when the opposing teams have really good supports. And we were talking about it yesterday. Supports in the league, because they were playing week after week after week, just continue to get better and better and better. And if you have a good backbone, as mentioned by many in the past with those supports, and now 2 of them in most compositions, you're not going to be able to pull that off. And beGenius, because of that, have been failing so hard. Yeah,
if you think about the support role in general, we've been hearing Trick, for example, talk a lot about how much they praise Knappe in all of these games. He had such rough games whenever they were playing against Team Expert just because he was the focus of the opponent's team, and trying to keep him alive was a chore for the team and for himself as well. So he had so much pressure trying to keep himself alive while trying to rescue everybody around him. So it was pretty cool to see that. The first thing that happened was Alex later on immediately saying, Knappe is really making this happen for us. He always has our back in these fights. And the team spirit that we have on a team like Trick is absolutely extraordinary and pushes them. And that's something that beGenius now needs as well.
That support life, man. You either have to play perfectly or you get the blame for losing the matchup. So you support mains out there that are doing it and are obviously dominating every match, we love you. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and head into it. Team Dignitas, beGenius facing off. Our gray main is in the mix.
It's still their fault when I die.
You're always so ruthless, man. You never give, ever.
Hey, I have to jump in on the meme here, okay?
Okay, all right.
Supports, I mean, we all know they get blamed for every single death in the game. It's a very unthankful role to play, but it's one with the highest impact for sure.
That's right. I think on Valentine's Day from now on, we have to make sure that we give Valentine's cards to our supports and just let them know they're loved, man. They need it. You know, build out that foundation. Okay, Dignitas has Arthas, they have Lucio on the side, and they are facing off a Gary main.
I agree with the Valentine card approach, by the way, unless it's Brightwing. Brightwing doesn't get a card.
So sad, man. She's my favorite support. I miss her. I miss her. I do. So let's talk draft a little bit here.
Yeah. So
Arthas Lucio pickup, we talked about how great that is. A Nubrak is becoming one of the major pickups that you see after an Arthas, just to make sure it doesn't get banned out. Because obviously, a lot of the time on our second bans, we get a Nubrak gone, because mages do get picked up.
I'm already worried, though, because this Nubrak pickup is something that beGenius has been doing over and over again. And while I don't mind the hero, I'm afraid that they are playing him solo again and fall into the same trap they fell into last time. At the same time, when you're looking at what we're seeing here right now, the Arthas and Lucio pickup, of course, enables Arthas to move in, move out a little bit more. You just eliminate one of his weaknesses, which is the mobility. Lucio himself is also fantastic for any kind of poke fight around the shrine, so that's good for them as well. I love the Grey main, on the other hand, for beGenius. This is something that we've seen just rise in priority because he has such a huge impact and can completely obliterate an opponent's backline. So the start into the draft for beGenius, not bad by any means, but I still would like them to pick up a second frontliner.
I do like them getting the Grey main too, because as you mentioned, it's becoming more meta, but two, it means that beGenius is trying different things out. In the past, they've been Tychus all day, they've been running Li Ming often, they've had Grey main once or twice, but now they're starting the gates out here, bringing the Grey main in. Also, the Nubrak pickup, you mentioned that it is something that beGenius goes with very often. I think if you do it against any team, it's great against Dignitas, because you're always going to get a mage if possible. However, we have had adjustments from our boy Mane. He's been playing some Zul'jin as of late.
Yeah, we've seen that Suljin play, and now we have Dignitas doing something completely different. They go with Arthas into Johanna. Now, we've seen the Arthas and Nubarak comp quite a bit. We have seen Fnatic run an ETC together with Arthas. Now, instead, we have a Johanna for a bit of additional wave clear. And that is a front line that is very difficult to break. With the Sylvanas behind it to enable a Punisher to push through even harder, I'm really wondering what the last pick is going to be for them. Because with that front line, you can basically play anything.
Yeah, you have a strong front line. Do you go with the mages because of a Nubrak, or could we have the possibility of seeing Mene in Hammer, maybe Vala? I mean, I wouldn't mind a Hammer now. I actually do not like Hammer as a character, but Hammer works really well here.
I mean, Hammer in general has seen a couple of games play, especially when we're looking at Korea, for example. So you could play Hammer. I don't really think it's going to happen here, but with a front line like this, you can protect anything.
Totally.
You can have one tank just occupying the opponent's front line, the other one is peeling for the back. So there's a lot of options for them. beGenius, first of all, they add now the mage, so they take Kel'Thas away, and we have Tychus. Yeah, Hammer would have been a little bit too much to ask for.
I would have loved it, though.
Not in Europe right now.
I do want to commend beGenius on their research here, though. They got rid of Zul'jin, which is one of the auto-attackers that Dignitas has been running pretty often with Mene, and they also take Kel'Thas away, which is one of the go-tos that we see Dig pick up whenever they are on Infernal Shrines. So taking that away and setting themselves up, they are targeting Mene here a little bit, but now Tychus being in the rotation here, we can have Mene bring out the auto-attacks.
Yeah, Mene is most likely going to play the Sylvanas in the setup. He plays Sylvanas in the... I mean, they have a lot of overlap with the heroes, but they can just shift them over to one or the other. But Mene has been playing quite a bit of Sylvanas in the past when they had to.
You're correct.
So, yeah, he's jumping on the Sylvanas now. And it's still going to be a very good draft for them, especially if they gain some momentum. And this is something where beGenius has to put the foot down immediately and say, like, okay, boys, listen. We cannot lose these Punishers with the Sylvanas on the other side. It's too much value. We need to make sure that Greymane and Kel'Thas win those shrines for us early on and carry that.
So it comes down to the front lines for me for both of our teams. You have a strong, robust front line with Dignitas with the Arthas and the Johanna. They can pretty much do whatever they would like. They can push it to a fight. Whereas beGenius has Dahaka and a Nubrak, which means they have to have a hard engage and they have to have a good flank between those two warriors, or they're going to be pretty ineffective as they get poked down by both Tychus here and Sylvanas.
Yeah, especially when I feel like especially Kel'Thas needs to just poke them down a bit. The problem is you have a Lucio on the other side, so that makes them a bit difficult, and Greymane then engage. And that's the moment where the two tanks matter. They need to really go for that hard engage together with Greymane, and ideally Kel'Thas gets a bit more damage in before that even happens, so that they get a confirmed kill. But breaking through a Johanna with the blind, the Arthas, that is going to be really difficult.
It's a tall task.
I don't think you can burst down one of these tanks, so you have... I'm really not sure how beGenius is planning to break through that front line, to be honest, because Greymane alone cannot make that happen. They need to get a good setup with Dahaka, trying to just get a flank in and get the drag. Maybe a Nubarak engaging here, but I think it's very difficult for them to make that happen. There's so much auto attack as well, so the tanks should really suffer if they move out a bit too far.
Well, it's game time. Let's find out what our teams are doing. Game number 1 here, Infernal Shrines. Can beGenius put up a fight against the Western Class champions in Dignitas? We'll find out.
And starting off to the left in game number 1, we now have Team Dignitas with Zelia on Arthas, Min on Sylvanas, Bakery playing Lucio, Snitch on the Tychus, and JPL plays Johanna.
To the right, in the red, it will be beGenius. We're going to have Dahaka, played by Tank for the win, Malfurion, played by Unstable, Greymane for Erikine, a Nubrak for Danatan, and Kel'Thas will be played by Kirvlar.
So let's find out what beGenius can pull off here. They need to use that global. They need to try and make sure that at least in experience they're not going to fall behind. We all know how brutal it can be if you are up on Infernal Shrines, down a talent, and you just need to engage into these objectives. And the problem for beGenius is that they can't really let an objective go because Sylvanas is just going to add so much extra value to a push from Dignitas. And Dignitas will attempt to exploit that ruthlessly. They are aiming for a very early kill here.
Yeah, they even came down here for the turret to get some experience going in. Let's see if beGenius will be able to get a kill on the early side. Calls will be important. Greymane and Kel'Thas have to be coordinated. The Gravity Lap's coming out, the Greymane diving in, and then when better barbs become available, Nubrak will have to make sure that he has the peel to make sure that Greymane is able to retreat from the fight. Luckily, Malfurion will help out with that due to the roots.
Yeah, already Dignitas pressuring very heavily though, and when I say early kill, I wanted actually to say that they are going for an early win here. They want to win this one fast. A kill will of course help to accomplish that goal, but we have them now pressuring structures slightly.
interesting how that stacks up. Kills equals wins, you know? Starts to move in there.
Not always.
That's true. They're not always. That is true. Danotan here in the middle, dealing with the pressure from Dignitas. They are rotating between the middle and the bottom lane, and they're just etching a small victory every single time they rotate on the experience here by getting turrets lower and lower, in particular that bottom lane.
The dynamic with the kills is actually an interesting one, because especially in the early game, people put too much value on early game kills if they happen in lanes where there's more than one hero. Early game is mostly about experience, and getting a kill grants you a bit of extra XP, but if you don't kill a hero on a solo lane, it's not going to be the end of the world for your opponent, as long as they can still pick up the minion experience.
Yeah.
Since early game kills give you only a little bit of EXP, the death timers are still very low, so you can recover from them way more easily than kills that happen in the late game.
Yeah, it's a good point. We usually see in the very beginning that 5v5 middle because of the waves clashing, and most people think it's because people want to get kills. It's not that. It's because they want to get the wave cleared out and then spread out to the top and the bottom lane. So don't go for those kills. If you miss the experience at a lane, it actually hurts you more than the kill nets the experience.
Yeah, so a kill is always nice to get, but you need to make sure that you get the experience. That has to be the first priority in the early game. So waves are very important here. But the fight that we see unfold in front of us already shows that Dignitas is taking a very solid position on the shrine with a double tank setup that they are rocking after St. Johanna. They can easily make that happen. And here's that pressure against the Nuburak. He has to burrow out. So it's really difficult at this point for beGenius to re-engage.
Yeah, we're really witnessing the strength of the front line for Dignitas. Just moving in, putting some pressure on a Nuburak with Dahaka not being in the fight as Dahaka pushing in the bottom lane. Dignitas takes the opportunity to grab the Punisher, but Dignitas is doing work in that top lane while beGenius is destroying that bottom lane.
beGenius is getting a slight lead in experience, and this is solely to the fact that they rotated onto the lanes and were attempting to get the extra XP. The problem really is Sylvanas. If Sylvanas would not be part of the composition that Dignitas uses here, this Punisher wouldn't do a whole lot. But as is, they are trying to get extra value out of it. So they're moving in, always disabling the structures, and really aiming for kills. Dignitas actually ends up not gaining as much as they were hoping for here, not even destroying the entire wall. The minions are finally finishing that job. They were hoping for a kill on the top of on the back of the jump that the Punisher is going to use to stun someone out. That didn't happen, and therefore this is still fairly good for beGenius. It's not as bad as expected.
Yeah, that didn't happen, the kill that you were looking for two reasons. One, Tychus went to the middle and the bottom lane to soak experience, to get ahead in that experience. And then also, beGenius had a really good concave set up around that wall. The wall for Dignitas was broken on the bottom side, and beGenius put 3 people in a concave, so if anyone came through, a Flame Strike from Kel'Thas and a Gravity Lapse could have been enough to get a kill. So Dig was forced to play a little bit more passive than you normally would with the Syl, and it all works out while we move towards level 7.
Yeah, this is actually, it was really interesting to see that. I expected Dignitas to try and push way harder than that and attempt to go for an early fort to at least put some pressure on it. They got a few of those hit points removed, but not as much as you would expect. But it's a very early Punisher, of course, so the scaling is going to make these pushes a lot harder later on. Another thing that we have to point out quickly as we're talking about Tychus and Lucio, we were touching on those on that synergy yesterday too, is that if you are playing with the bigger they are, Lucio more or less guarantees you that you will be able to follow that up for the entire duration against a tank, especially of course against the Haka. So Tychus is getting a lot of extra damage out of that synergy.
Big root though from Unstable. Kirval does hit the Gravity Lapse. Airkeen's going in. Can he get the kill? And a second he'll have Darkflight to move in, but Bakery with a solid defense and heals will make Airkeen retreat.
Yeah, well done by Bakery, and Snitch stays alive, tries even to turn it around. It was quite low, but the rest of the team was moving in to help him out here. And now Shrine number 2 is starting to activate. So again, wave clear is very good for Team Dignitas when they are fighting on the Shrine. They find themselves in a great spot. Zelia is currently also attempting to get a camp up to the top, which is going to help a lot because it will force beGenius to leave the Haka at the top lane a bit longer unless they are willing to lose the fort to the camp.
And so far, Team Dignitas getting a composition that's good for snowballing hasn't had that opportunity yet. beGenius has played well enough to make sure they have not fallen behind. With the second Shrine phase coming up, it's important for both of our teams to land out this Punisher, because this will be the time that we actually start to see a break. If Dignitas brings all 5 members in the bottom here, for instance, and pushes in this lane, they can get a fort and maybe a kill.
The teams are both still way too far away from a level 10 to make that a factor in this particular fight. But we have beGenius grouping up around that Shrine, still waiting for the Dahaka. The burrow is needed, but it seems like they're just simply giving it up. And that is mostly because Dignitas took that Shaman camp at the top. This is the most important part of what they just did. They still keep the Haka top, and they're saying, yes, we're going to lose out at the bot lane, but we are gaining experience through the Haka. I'm just afraid that they are taking this a bit too lightly. Sylvanas, again, is the game changer again.
Dignitas only puts 4 members in the bottom though, so they commit that. They do get the 4 taken low on health here, and the Punisher is still relatively healthy. Kirval being the only one that can bring in the attacks. Typically, you want to have a Greymane to help kill this Punisher. The DPS that he brings in is solid, but Greymane elects to move the top right corner and start a mercenary counter push here in the top while 10 hits. So beGenius can maybe force a fight and get value out of those mercs.
Yeah, top lane, that's where Arthas takes the XP. So let's talk about this real quickly, because a lot of people will look at the experience and will say, hey, how does it actually matter that they are not going for the Punisher? As you can see, it's nearly the same experience. beGenius is just a bit behind. And if you only look at EXP, that's definitely true. The problem comes when you look at the structures, because now we have a 4 taken out at that bot lane, and with this one being eliminated, the next Punisher at the bot lane is pushing for the keep. Mercenary camps that you take here are pushing for the keep. The top wall has been taken out, and even with a kill in the mid lane right now, they are pushing the envelope even harder. Dignitas, just from a structural point of view, is setting themselves up for a very early kill against the keep of beGenius.
That Wailing Arrow was perfect there from Mayday, bringing out the silence to get focused down the Malfurion. Malfurion didn't have a chance to turn around and drop a root or even a Twilight Dream. And Sylvanas, this is the fact that we were talking about. If they are ever in a position to get advantage, they take a fort. And that's why that fort in the bottom is scary, as you were mentioning. Mercenaries going towards a keep, but even if they don't have a Punisher, if they get 1 or 2 kills, that could be a keep with half health, which makes it weaker. They can just snowball heavily.
Exactly. It's basically, you have a bit of a buffer against opponents' attacks through structures. And the more structures you lose, the more threatened you are to lose keeps, and that of course translates into catapult spawning for the opponent's team. So right now, even beGenius not being too far behind in experience, this is pressure against them, and this matters a lot. So they need to start taking fights soon. Dehaka is doing a fantastic job, by the way, keeping them in the experience range. It would be way worse, of course, if they would be falling behind right now. But they are still fairly close, so they should get that level 13 in time. But overall, Team Dignitas is playing a very, very pressure-heavy game, and beGenius should be scared here.
And look at the minimap right now. You have Sylvanas in the top, you have Johanna in the middle, and you have 3 members doing mercenary camps here in the very south. Dignitas, when they opened up the fort in the middle and the fort in the bottom, they naturally open up the map, which makes beGenius get very reserved in their movements, which means Dignitas can take more risk with their spreading out on the map.
Look at the timings also for the mercenary camps. This is really important. We keep harping on that point here, but it's so important that you time your mercenary camps. Sometimes you want to steal them away from the opponent, then the timing doesn't really matter. But in this case, when does Dignitas take that top camp? Before the shrine spawns. When do they take the bottom camp? Just as the shrine spawns. So again, Dehaka needs to stay at the bot lane or their keep will be pressured. That allows Dignitas to have an extra couple of seconds up to the top where they get a lead in the minion stacks, and it goes to a point where beGenius, even being down at talent, just says, you know what, we can't really engage here, we probably have to let this one go.
Yeah, this is one of the best ways to deal with global pressure. Your Dehakas, your Falstad, your Brightwing, even your Zeratul to a degree. If you know objectives are important for your team fights to be successful, just get mercenary camps and put counter pressure on the map. So they have to go down there and they can't use their traits. Now, 13-13 for our teams, and Dignitas here at 9 minutes and 30 seconds grabs a big Punisher here in the top lane and could push towards this fort, which is already at half health.
Yeah, and this is really Heroes 1-on-1. Think about what you do and think about why you're doing something. Now we have that push. Dehaka is still trying to get experience at the bot lane. They're constantly just pressuring with a hero on the lane. They have Greymane in the middle. They realize they can't do anything here, so they push in an extra wave and try to make a stand at the keep. But this is now getting scary because that Punisher is still at full health. They're already moving through the wall. Punisher starts to jump in. The wall is open, so they can try and follow up on the Punisher stun. Dignitas is out for blood here.
Yeah, and they're getting aggressive because Unstable used Cleanse there from the Punisher job. Shield Barrier is popped as well. Arctis in the front line. He is being focused down, but with Army of the Dead, he's holding for now.
Oh.
Twilight Dream coming out, though. Greymane going in the back line. Nom, nom, nom. Looking for mana here on the left.
Double kill for beGenius. Look at that. Showing signs of life here. Not only defending their keep, but getting a double kill. That was an important one. And Dignitas, yeah, that was a bit tricky here for them. And they didn't really commit their ults. There's quite a bit of miscommunication that happened in that fight. We see Johanna fall without using the best shield. We have no Wailing Arrow. So that didn't really work out as intended for the boys.
Mayday making impressive plays here. He dodged the first Gravity Lapse, he dodged the second engage from the Nubrak, and drops the arrow to survive from that big clever flank there from beGenius. Dehaka rotating with a Brushsucker and looking for a kill, does not net one.
This is getting interesting because Dignitas played a fantastic early game up to that push, and then they lose 2 heroes because they did not fully commit and didn't use their cooldowns like they should. So, of course, Malfurion with the silence played a big role there as well. He timed that really nicely. But if JPL is a bit faster on that blast shield, he can either interrupt or net an early kill against it, or maybe even with that Wailing Arrow. So there was definitely a bit of potential for Team Dignitas to take an early keep here. But with that double kill that we just saw, beGenius now has some momentum going for them. They're still heavily behind in structures. If you look at the minimap, we are talking 3 forts on the map for Dignitas, whereas beGenius only has their keeps remaining.
Yep, beGenius certainly won that team fight, but map control is heavily in the favor of Dignitas, and they continue it too. They have pressure in the middle with the mercenaries that they just grabbed. They have mercenaries in the bottom they can move towards. In fact, they're feeling so comfortable with their movement, they're attempting to try and get into a fight before beGenius even hit 16. Without beGenius being around though, they clear out the top lane, and that again nets them a strong lead in the top lane with the mercenaries and the minions pushing.
And also, with the forts gone on the side of beGenius, they have no retreat during fights on the shrine. So they can't really move back. If they get chased, there is no backing up for them behind a wall or into the safety of a fort. That doesn't exist. There's no well available for them anymore. So if a fight turns against them, it's going to be very tricky for them to disengage here. Especially for heroes like Malfurion or Kalthas.
beGenius holding now. They hit 16, but that advantage won't be available for long as Dignitas spreads out to clear out all 3 lanes here. beGenius will be forced to fight around this shrine base because now if they lose this Punisher, the keep in the middle could be in trouble with Sylvanas pushing in and Arthas leading the charge.
Both of them on 16. Also the Alpha Killer taken on the side of Greymane, so a bit of extra damage against the 2 tanks. And this time we're having also Sylvanas with that dagger, of course. The synergy between the level 4 and the level 16 talent. They're trying to establish a presence once more on the shrine, and the top camp is pushing. Top lane is pushing against them. Nice dodge on the drag here. JPL keeps himself a little bit farther back, wants to have a potential interrupt.
beGenius has made the time here to commit to this. 16 to 14, they have a slight lead on the minions around the shrine. Zelia does hit a Howling Blast on the map here on the back. Here's a Wailing Arrow hitting 3 members. Tank for the win on the front side, but we have a Nubarak already down.
Much better synergy this time. Using the Blast Shield first for the engage, going for a Nubarak, then the Wailing Arrow hits. Make sure that he can't retreat from it, so a 5 versus 4 in favor of Dignitas. Still behind in the minion count though.
Do want to call out that Dignitas went in for that engage after a Flame Strike was used, which allowed Dignitas to go in for the hard engage and not have to deal with the Flame Strike AoE. And because of the kill that they grabbed, they now will be able to take out the Punisher. beGenius deciding that they have to retreat as they can't clear out it.
They also needed to retreat because that Shaman camp was getting dangerously close to the keep, so a bit more time spent at the shrine fighting for it would result in that keep taking damage and potentially fall. But now Dignitas with the Punisher is again moving through the mid lane. Sylvanas disabling the structures here. And this is Dignitas really with the second attempt to drop a keep. The last time they lost 2 heroes. This time they want to go for it. And they could potentially even go for the win if they get a kill or 2.
Tahaka burrows, he's going in. Dantan on the left side, big Twilight Dream hitting on top of Johanna and Arthas. Arthas does fall. beGenius gets to kill the same way they did the last time on the last keep push.
That just feels bad. Right now Dignitas again going deep in.
Almost a cocktail, taking out Snitch there. He gets low on health. Bakery shows up for a heal or 2. But with that pick off on Arthas, as you just mentioned, beGenius defends their keep.
It's an interesting thing that happens here. Dignitas, whenever they are in a position where they can make a move for the keep in those team fights, it seems like they are trying a bit too hard. They go a slightly too deep. All of a sudden, Malfurion is there. It's like, boys, I got this. Hits the Twilight Dream, and then it's 1 or 2 kills against Dignitas. So beGenius doing pretty well at defending.
We talked about supports and how important they are for the backbone of a team, and so far Unstable showing it here. Bringing out that Twilight Dream every time an Arthas kill could be netted. Greymane and Kalthas always following up. Again, that silence prevents the Army of the Dead from actually being used from Zelia, so he just gets focused down. But they may have overstepped here as they invade. Big Blessed Shield, Bakery going in. He drops a knockback on Tahaka.
Kalthas is already down there trying to see if they can maybe get an extra kill, especially with Bakery, of course, moving in. Lucio with the movement speed. Here comes Tahaka with the burrow. The stun comes out from the Nubarak. The drag and the death of Tahaka as the follow-up. 3 heroes still on the run, and Dignitas on the move. They want the keep. They finally are going to take it with the help of Sylvanas. Once more, we have Danatan trying to stun them out, but there's no saving the mid keep here. This one is going to fall.
Yep, the first keep of the game will go down, awarded to Dignitas. beGenius now in that middle lane. We'll have to worry about catapult pressure coming their way. Dignitas using Lucio will start to retreat.
Yeah, they're retreating right now. This is all that they could get at this point. They also need to make sure that the camp in the mid lane is defended against. Overall in kills we have 4 against 3, but Dignitas still looking solid. And beGenius has still to take a fort.
Oh, beGenius. They are in a bit of a hard spot. They've won a couple of team fights, but they've yet to get a Punisher to even get awarded here to go for a push. Now, do note we are late game here, 16, well, I would say mid to late game. 16 minutes, if we get a Punisher going, that could be a 4. Things could start to go well here for beGenius, but they have to commit. Problem is, Dignitas continues this trend of controlling the mercenary camps. Bottom lane is being pushed, and in fact, they are setting up here. They've conditioned Dahaka so much to deal with mercenary camps that they're going to go for a kill here in the late game. This is clever.
Yeah, okay, here we go. There's the blessed shield.
That was so well done.
Full commitment. They immediately go for the Wailing Arrow, and now they push the bot lane. They're saying, hey, if you want to get that top, that shrine, you can have it. We're going to take one of your keeps.
And they make a move forward. A few members from beGenius do move in. Kel'Thas in particular to clear out this wave, but he won't have enough firepower to actually deal with this. We're going to have the keep fall immediately. Arthur's still on the top left there dealing with the Nubrak, and there it is. The second keep of the game has fallen. Dignitas retreats happily.
Perfect move by Dignitas. They take the keep at the bot lane. beGenius moves back because they know Dignitas could go for core here, and it's still... There's still a shrine up at the top. So right now, this is the ideal scenario for Dignitas. They got a free keep, which is insane value, and they now move to the top with the earlier level 20 and a 5 versus 4 situation on the map. They will get the Punisher. The Punisher is then pushing towards the last keep of beGenius. This is becoming more and more a checkmate position in favor of Dignitas.
And this is one of those moments I want to talk about before we have a fight, is you can't have a trend set up. You can't be conditioned to the same thing over and over again, because what Dignitas just did was punish Dahaka. Dahaka consistently, always for the team, went to defend those pillars on the bottom left. And because he did that, Dahaka got the kill, or he was killed off. Oh, hang on here. Arthas on the right side. There is going to be an engage. beGenius making a big play here. Malfurion has fallen, though, after using the silent. Xaylia living for now. Can he get away? Bakery here for the save.
Nice. Bakery with a place, making sure that Xaylia survives, healing them up. Kel'Thas down. It's a double kill. They go in again as Greymane is obliterated. Down he goes. And that Snitch just annihilating the rest of the team. And Uberak falling. Great job on the Odin here. They move in with the Punisher. That was the last stand of beGenius. The last Hail Mary attempt to take down Dignitas. Great play. And this should be the end of game number 1 in the best of 5.
Yep, Sylvanas going to push in. The keep is turned off. The Punisher is still healthy. All 3 keeps for beGenius. In fact, all their infrastructure has been cut off except for one lone turret in the middle. Team Dignitas does not care. They push in for the core, and they continue this trend of being so coordinated that they can secure victories.
Dignitas is going for 30% on the core, and this is game GG as beGenius is defeated on Infernal Shrines. Dignitas taking the lead in the series.
Dignitas is playing a textbook Sylvanas play, textbook play overall. Again, beGenius just in the spot where they kept doing the same maneuvers over and over again. They got a couple of good kills, especially when they were a defensive spot. But when you are getting kills, when your keep is being attacked, it's usually a spot where you're not in the greatest of conditions.
Yeah, it was clean play. Very clean play from Dignitas, disregarding the kills that happened when they were attempting to push for the keeps, when beGenius defended very well, actually. But overall, it was just very crisp. They took the forts out early, they established a presence on the map, they won every single Punisher that we've seen here, and it was just not possible for beGenius to really break through the Nubunat and Arthur's, to the Johanna and Arthur's setup, unless one of them really overextended when the key pushes happened.
And it's great to see Dignitas constantly coming together here. In the first few weeks of the HGC, it felt like they always just held on to the late game, waited for a play or two, and then won. Here, in the last couple of weeks of HGC, they have started to just slowly, methodically break their opponents apart. And it's great to see that teamwork and that coordination really coming together. This is a team that's looking to compete at the global stage.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the big 3 teams in Europe currently doing what they're supposed to do here. No weaknesses, very solid, the same that they did against the Playing Ducks the last time. But of course, it's only the first map of potentially 5 if beGenius shows up.
Well, let's find out if they will show up. We'll be right back for game number 2 right after this commercial break.